Welcome back, and today we're going to work on the 2009 Corolla S again, and this is what we're going to do for the Corolla S. We're going to put some new suspensions on, some front and rear suspension. They are fairly old now. Since I've gotten them, I've never changed the suspension. We've driven about 226,000 miles on the Corolla S. So it's about time they get some new suspension. We changed out the vapor canister last time, and the check engine light is still good. So I wanted to treat the Corolla S a little bit more and get some new suspension on it so it can ride a little bit better. These I got also from Rock Auto. They were $400. They came in the set for front and rear suspension. So I just picked those up. You can pick up any other suspension if you want, but we're gonna install these today, and I'll show you how we'll go about doing that. I'll start with the front and then we'll move on to the rear. So let's get started. All right, so now that we've gotten the car up on jacks and it's secure, I'm gonna take off the wheels on both sides. Then I'm gonna come up to the hood and I'm gonna take off two tabs that are holding this trim piece here in the front off, and I'll show you that here in a second, but let's get the wheels off first. So now that I've gotten the tires off, I'm going to take off this tab here that's holding down this trim. Let me show you a little closer here. So it's just this tab right here. Really, you just push down into the center and then kind of pull up, and it should just come right off just like that. Oop. And then I think that center piece just went all the way down. Let me grab it here. So that's what's kind of holding it. And when you put it back in, you just kind of push it there and it'll tighten. It looks like this one's kind of broken, but what I'll do is I'll leave this here for now. We're just gonna pull this up a little bit so I can have access to the bolts here for the struts. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side really quick. I can bring it over here. So there's another tab right here. You'll just push in on that center piece there. Maybe. Okay, there it goes. And then it comes right out. And then I'll put that. And then give me a little bit better access to the suspension bolts right there. For a little bit more access, actually you can actually pull this off here and then kind of pull that to the side on this side, and then kind of nudge something underneath here. I'm just going to use this power piece so then you can have a little bit better access to these bolts. So now let's go down to where the suspension is. All right. So here's some of the bolts that we're going to have to take off. We're going to take off this bolt here that's connected to the strut bar, and then we're going to take off this bolt here that's holding the brake line and the ABS sensor so that we can kind of move this off to the side. And then we're going to remove these two knuckle bolts here. So let's get to it. I'm going to start with this bolt here. This is a 17mm bolt. What you would normally do is you would have your wrench and you would put it here. And you have a hex wrench. You can hold down the strut bar here, and then you'll wrench it out. Mainly because this is going to spin as well. All right, let's give that a try. All right, so it looks like the impact wrench isn't going to get out. It's kind of spinning there. So it seems to be rusted. So I'm going to try this. I have this 17mm hex. Let's see if I can get that in. See how it's spinning right there in the middle? I'm going to use this hex key here in the middle of it to hold it down. While I am trying to spin it to loosen it. So let's see if I can do it like this actually. Probably be better. There it goes. That should come off now. All right, that bolt's off. We'll pull that there, and we'll just put that to the side there. All right, and then for the brake line and ABS, it's a 14 millimeter bolt. Get that off really quickly, and then this is just gonna come off like this, and then we're just going to pull this right off of the suspension, and then we can just kind of let it hang here. So for the ABS here, there is another little piece that's kind of hanging on with the suspension. I'm gonna take off these bolts first, and then I'll see how I can get, if I have access to it inside there, and then I can just kind of pull it out. But for now, we're gonna take off these bolts. These are 22 millimeter bolts. Bolt and nut are both 22 millimeters. So what you can do here, get a big wrench, hold it down, and then your impact wrench here. There you go. There's one. Power there. Get this. Hold this here. There you go. Got it. It's gonna droop here a little bit. Actually, let me have this bolt here. Hold that there for a second. All right, I'm just gonna use this trim remover here. I'm gonna slide it in between here. See if I can't just kind of pull this off here. All right, got that off. All right, then kind of lift this back up. Take this bolt off and let this hang here like this. All right. Let that hang there for a little bit. And then I'm gonna go up top and take off those other bolts. So these are going to be a little bit harder. These are 14 millimeter bolts to take off. I'm just gonna loosen them like that. It's really quick. Do it with this one as well. Just gonna get a wrench in there. And I'm just gonna pull back on it to loosen it. That's loosened. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one here. I'm just gonna pull back on it. All right. Perfect. All right. And then this is where a ratcheting wrench comes in handy. Yeah, you just kind of leave it in there, make it a little bit quicker work, I guess. Let's see. Oh, looks like if I can now remove it with my fingers. Okay, it's gonna start dropping a little bit, so I'm going to hold the suspension with my other hand down here. I'm just gonna hold it while I am unscrewing that bolt. And then I'm going to slowly kind of lift it up so I can have some space. All right. So that's off. I'm just going to pull it down. All right, like that. All right, here's the brand new strut. This is for the driver's side. You can kind of tell because this is where the brake line and the ABS will hang, and it even says L right here on it, so the left side here. And we're just gonna stick this through. This should be okay. And then they also provide us with some new bolts, so we're just gonna go ahead and use those. I'm gonna stick it through, and then I'm gonna start some bolts on. All right, we've gotten the bolts back up in here. I'm just gonna tighten them with this wrench really quick. All right, we'll torque those down a little bit later. Let's go back down here, and then we'll put all the bolts back in. It looks like my phone kind of overheated a little bit, so it stopped recording. So I'll just redo it on this side. Basically, I'm putting back the bolts onto the suspension. So I'm gonna line it up here, and then stick in the top bolt there. Top bolt's in. Line up the bottom bolt. Hopefully, let's see. Let's slide that in. Then we'll start a little bit with the bolts. Let's drop this one here. Grab this other one. All right. And then the brake line and the ABS line, there's kind of a, let's see, I think I have it backwards here. There's a kind of a guide for this right here to hang on. You just kind of stick it in and then stick it in there, and then you'll put the brake line like this right on, and then get that other bolt here. Get the bolt here. We start it up a little bit. There you go. And then the strut inling is right back in there, and then we can tighten that. Right here, really quick. All right. So the inling is actually kind of turning, so we just have to do it by hand. I have my, kind of move it out a little bit. Tighten it by hand. Now we'll get this one here really quick. This one should be easy. All right, and then we'll do the bolts, which is 22 mil on this side. Hold on to that. Okay, and then we'll torque that down. And we'll torque that down. All right. Now we're ready to torque everything. These bolts up here will be 37 foot-pounds to torque, and you must be wondering how I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to use this here. This is a crow's feet so that I can stick it here and then put my torque wrench on here and then torque it down. The inner one might be a little bit tricky, but we'll see what happens. We'll get it done though. And then this small bolt that's holding on the brake line and ABS, that's going to be 21 foot-pounds. This strut ending bolt is going to be 55 foot-pounds. And then these two big bolts are going to be 177 foot-pounds of torque. So let's get started torquing. The crow's feet didn't work. It worked for this one, but it was kind of hard to kind of get back in the back there. So I got a little creative. So this is a 14 millimeter wrench. And then I just kind of placed the wrench on the bolt like that. And then my torque wrench is a 1/2 inch torque wrench, and it fits right into the other end of the wrench very well, nice and snug. And then I just kind of pushed this until it popped. You hear that? And then I got it torqued to 37 foot-pounds. So I did that for all the bolts. So they're torqued down now to 37 foot-pounds. I'm gonna move on to the other one. It's just a little bit of creativity, but that's all right. Otherwise, we would have to remove all this paneling and then this bracket down here as well. So I think we're done up here for the torquing and everything. So I'll set this back in as well. Set this back there. Oh, this goes in there. All right, and then this bolt can go back into where. All right. And I'm just gonna finish off the other side really quick. And then if you want putting up back the tire, the lug nuts are 76 foot-pounds for the tire. And yeah, let's move to the rear. All right, so I was going to start the rear suspension, but I realized what time it was. My son has an event tonight that I have to go to. I'm gonna finish the rear suspensions tomorrow, and I'll show you how that goes. So skip to tomorrow. All right, we're back, and we're gonna finish up the suspension on the Corolla here today. I'm gonna pop the trunk really quick. There's a few things we need to remove from the trunk before we do the suspension, before I even kind of lift it up a little bit. But we're just gonna remove some of this stuff here so I can get access to the bolts for the rear suspensions here and over there. So let's get these removed really quick, and then we'll put this up on jacks. All right, so we've gotten the liner removed here in the trunk, but then there are two tabs back here that you'll have to kind of remove to kind of pull this trim piece back. One right there for the driver's side, and one right there for the passenger side. So I'm gonna pull those really quick and pull this back. All right, so now that we have that removed, let me show you a few things that we're gonna have to take out. We're going to remove this nut here, this nut here, and then this bolt on the bottom when we get down there. Same thing on the other side once I remove that trim over there. So now that I have access to the bolts, I'm just gonna remove them before I lift them up so it's easier for me to access right now. You've also probably noticed that I've opened up the rear seats as well, so I can access that bolt over there a little bit easier, and then the same thing on the passenger side as well. So I'll just remove these and the passenger bolts really quick. All right, put that there. All right, got that. And then I'm gonna go, once I lift the car up, I'll take off this bolt here. All right, I've got the car up on jacks, and then I've taken off the tire. You can actually do this without taking off the tire, but it's just easier for me to take off the tire, easier access to the bolts right here. So here's the bolt that I'm talking about that's was up there that I didn't take off. This is the 14mm bolt. And then we have one more bolt connected to the wheel, and it's right here. And that's going to be a 19mm bolt that we just have to remove, and then we should be able to pop off this rear suspension. Now we should be able to pop off the suspension. All right, we've got the old suspension off now, and we just need to put the new one in. All right, just for reference, and I probably should have done this for the front suspension as well, but this is the rear suspension here. This is the old suspension here. This is the new suspension here. And if you're curious of how you know which side you need to go on, the old one gives you an L and R as well. This is left. So you just match it up. Make sure that this one is also a left. That's right. So this should fit right in. All right, I'm ready to install this. This should just go right in. We have the bolt ready to go. So let's get started. Stick it right through. Line it up. All right. And then we'll hand tighten this really quick. All right. And now let's go to the top and do the top nuts really quick. I'll go ahead like that. Get to the side here. Now we've got the top. Go ahead and put this washer and nut back in. All right. And then we'll torque it all down. So this bolt here is going to be 59 foot-pounds, and the bolt we put at the top and the nut on the mounting are all 59 foot-pounds. So we'll start torquing those in, and we should be done. All right. So we're pretty much finished. The liner's back in now, and I just need to lower the car, put on the tires. Let's go for a drive really quick and test out the new suspension. All right, so we've gotten everything buttoned up now on the Corolla, and I'm just test driving the car right now with the new suspensions all fully installed, and it feels really good. It's probably been long overdue. We do have 227,000 miles on the car, and those were the stock suspensions that came with the car. So it was kind of long overdue. We just kind of gave a little love to the old Corolla here, and it feels really good. We may need to do a little bit of an alignment on it, but it's not too bad actually. So we might take it to alignment shop anyways to just get it all aligned, make sure everything is okay. But other than that, the suspension is really good. I'll leave a link down below where I got them from Rock Auto if you want to check them out. But with that, thank you for watching, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to Gas and Watts. It helps us out quite a bit, and I'll see you next time.